Hi, my name is Cesar Rivera, and this is my cyber threat intelligence plan for my cybersecurity operations and leadership 580 module 7 assignment 2. This is the agenda. Next slide. So what is cyber threat intelligence? As you can tell there, the thing is cyber threat intelligence, also known as CTI, is organize and analyze and refine information about potential or current attacks that threaten an organization. Next slide. This slide here displays different stages of a typical attack campaign and responses leading back to the actor attribution. CTI can help victims more readily identify delivery mechanisms, indicators of compromise across infrastructure, and potential actors and specific motivators as well. So what CTI can do is give you specifics on a victim, what their identity is, their locations, the delivery, what they use, what exploit, what mechanism that they use, the infrastructure, what they use for. Did they do any escalation of privileges? They compromise the domain controller or anything like that, and then the motivation that goes along with going from the espionage to was it monetary or was it politically influenced? And then the actor, hey, can we attribute to somebody? Do they have an identity? Is there a role? Do they have a connection to anything? So that's what CTI can help us do. This big chart here is just to show that there's 3 levels that CTI can help. At the tactical level, which is basically that they get overwhelmed with indicators of compromise that generate false positives. So the cyber threat intelligence can validate and prioritize indicators. They prioritize patches and alerts. At the operational level, basically at the incident response team, they take too long to find the relevant information. So how do you sift through all that many logs? So CTI can help you basically give you the context to reconstruct the attack, and so where to go to continue the search. And at the strategic level, so at your guys' level, at the CISO and CEO level, it gives you priorities based on business risk and likely attacks. What we get told many times is, hey, there's everything's scary. We're vulnerable to everybody. Everyone's out to get us. Everyone's a threat. Well, that's the issue. Not everything is a threat to us. And what CTI helps us is to basically put a face on that. So speaking of threat, next slide. So what is a threat? Just because threat is often an abused term, especially when a threat is especially when a threat to one organization may not be a threat to another. Many organizations fail to identify threats and thus usually appropriate business resources to the wrong areas or spend too long on processes such as risk and vulnerability analysis instead of mitigating and fixing issues. So as an example, if an actor has the intent and capability, but the organization is not vulnerable or there is no opportunity present, then the actor is simply not a threat. This basic understanding is extremely important with regards to threat intelligence and why the term is often abused. So you must have all 3 to be considered a threat. So what kind of threats are out there? Well, the problem is that there's a myriad of threats. The majority that you see on the outer region are what most people would be worried about. Those are your criminal groups, your activists, even specifically your state sponsored, and 9 times out of 10 the competitors. But I wouldn't say too much about the competitors unless you know that they are willing to risk maybe breaking the law or some sort of that, because for them to get some of the information, knowing that there is a lot of open source intelligence, that is why the researcher is kind of out here. Your biggest concern is in your inner circle here. What is the biggest one? I would say either your accidental insider or even your disgruntled/criminal insider. These right here kind of just go all together, because what they have is they have the access, and they have, other than the accidental, they have the intent. Therefore, you have the vulnerability. Therefore, they're a threat. So, what's a more formal definition of these top 4? As you can tell here, the nation state, don't think of, hey, Russia or China or Iran, they're out to get me, and my company. No, they don't necessarily care about the company itself. What they want is the information. What can they steal, or what can they leverage for economic, political, hey, or even military advantage? So what is in our possession that is, trade secrets, uh, intellectual property, all that. That is usually where the nation state at our level is the issue. The bigger concern to us is organized crime. Um, are they stealing the PII information that we have on our customers, or do they have our payment systems, our financial information? They are there for the money. They're either there to collect information to sell it, or they're there to get information so that then they can use that to, pay for their own things, or to leverage that for loss of consumer confidence, like the Target and the Lowe's and the Home Depot. They took a big loss of consumer confidence because of the information that got stolen. The other one's the hacktivists. They are there, they're influenced by either a political or social change, and they are there to basically, they want to disrupt the activities of the company, or 9 times out of 10 they want to hurt the brand and the reputation. So the loss of consumer confidence goes on that. But the big thing there at the bottom is your insider. Again, this insider could be any number of different insiders you want to call them. They could be the accidental, the criminal, the disgruntled, the whistleblower, the any of those fall under this. But the big thing is that they have many different reasons to be an insider other than the accidental, because it could be patriotism or it could be monetary. But all it is they have the access, and they have the motive to do it if they want to, and that's why most of the security flaws that you've seen, the NSA leaks and the CIA leaks, they come from insiders, because it's one of those. Once you're in, you're assumed to be allowed to be in, and most companies don't defend against it. So I've already kind of hit over this, but what is the most significant threat facing the organization? Well, it's not the big scary monster out there that we hear that, everything's out to get us. Yes. Do we get attacked from multiple actors? Of course we do. The majority of them are just sending big network scans or big phishing attacks across the entire network. Why? Because all it takes for them is one user to hit the attachment, or one user to click the link, and they're in. They're not necessarily targeting a company. Sometimes they are, but in most cases they're not. They're targeting a big population, hoping for the one or the two that click it. So the biggest issue is our second bullet, the insider actors. Next slide. So this is just another slide to show how an insider can go from, they can give information from trade secrets, social security numbers, they can leak it. Most of the CIA and SA leaks are like that. They can put it on share drives, they can put it on CDs, all that stuff. They give it to a competitor, they give it to the media, and then, hey, the causing impact could be a myriad of things, with our worst one being either close a business, or, hey, maybe the company was doing something bad, and is there some kind of criminal punishment that happens. So all those things must be taken in consideration. The next slide is the risk assessment that we conducted, that we assessed on these threat actors. The ones we want to focus on, of course, are your accidental insiders, the press, and the hacktivists. The hacktivists and the press kind of go hand in hand, because if we get bad press or any type of press on certain hot issues, that might lead the hacktivists to take up a cause against us at the company. But as you can tell, the biggest ones are the accidental insider and the disgruntled, because they are looking to punish the company for something. So how do we change this? Well, it's this evolving perspective that security is all the IT personnel. It's all the ones and zero guys. Well, no, it starts at the top. If we don't have the guidance and the priorities that from the CEO at your level, sir, then the CISO can't develop his plan. Then therefore the IT department cannot implement that plan. So what are your priorities? I can tell you what my key infrastructure is. It might be my servers and my domains controllers, but to you, it might be this certain database because it holds everything good and dear to the company. So that comes from your input. It doesn't come from us knowing, because to us at the network and cybersecurity, maybe the hardware of transport is important, but to you, it might just be the database, or it might be one piece of information that is in closed hold uh, remove system. So that comes from you at the CEO level to give us your priorities, and then to take an active role in funding and to give in the culture of the company, which leads to the next slide. Basically, the recap of the key points takeaway. We know the ecosystem. This is a business world. The main point is that it's all interconnected, and there's money that wants to be made from both the intruders and from us. We know our adversaries. We understand that they're out there. We understand our key infrastructure, so our jewels, basically. Um, the tone at the top. If the CEO is involved, the company is involved. If there is commitment from the CEO, then there is commitment from the personnel underneath them. And then embed our cyber risk into board oversight and executive level decision making. Cybersecurity is not a one department, it's overarching, which leads to the recommendations. Think like the enemy. So, what are critical nodes? Protect them. How would you go at it if you were the enemy? Hey, do your vulnerability and penetration assessment, but we need funding. We need priorities from you guys. So the CEO level engagement is essential, and do not outsource responsibility. I'm not saying you, sir, to outsource the responsibility. I am saying in general, the entire company can't say it's the CISO's responsibility to defend our network. This is a team effort, and as a team effort, everyone has a little blame and a little credit to take when we do a good job. Hey, a persistent attacker will get into network. So how do we get them out? We continue to search them, seek them out, and remove his exploits and remove his footprints within our network. But we need to have a defense in depth structure, and then constantly train users. The big risk here is insider threat. So we got to constantly train users, constantly get them involved, and then we must use our automated workflows to use the hardware to do a lot of our analysis, but still keeping the human in the loop. So how do we get the IDS systems, intrusion detection systems, and the intrusion penetration systems to automatically sift through data and determine if something is not a good thing? So do they stop them, or do we not? So we just have to make sure that we have good automated workflow, and then we got to start small. We haven't have standards. We can't just implement this huge system that no one understands, no one can comprehend, and it's too big for the 3-man team that's there or the 4-man team. We must start small, and with standards, increase. And then it goes back to the press. Do not give a reason for future attacks. If there is a PR disaster that pertains to maybe a hot issue, hey, understand that's your threat, and then kind of understand that you might have an increase on attacks or vulnerabilities, and then always revise and refine. The enemy always refines and upgrades their tactics. Us as defenders, we must continue to refine our methods and continue doing the best of our ability, but always be educated. Keep educating our personnel. Keep educating our users, and keep the CEO involved on top, so that we can receive the funding and we can give out the training, and therefore we keep everyone safe. If there's no other questions, that's all I have for you, sir. Thank you for your time.